money's on the screen tonight. Secrets out in plain sight. Luxury homes at half the price. Making
So, as you have seen from the news, the Fed was supposed to cut the rates. That was what everybody was expecting. Obviously, if the Fed doesn't cut the rates, although mortgage rates are not directly related to Fed rates, but they have a very, very big influence on the overall economy, possibility of institutional lenders who we, ordinary people like you and me, borrow money from, on what rates those guys are giving the money for the loans. Now, many people are speculating that this will cause housing prices to drop. There's a couple nuances that you have to understand for this before processing all this information. Now, first of all, there is still a huge lack of housing. The population in the United States keeps growing, but we don't build enough houses. Why? Different reasons. I think my personal opinion is that regulations are just too tough. You need a permit for the permit. For instance, a couple days ago, we were doing a construction of the ADU. So the county, it wasn't even a city, which is supposed to be easier to work with the county. They required me to get a permit for the dual gang meter. If you don't know, it's a meter with a panel with 2 meters, which you connect to the duplexes for 1 meter for separate meter for each of the units. And what happened ended up with a situation, permit for the meter, but they also eventually required another permit for the panel. But when you go to the county's website, there is no way to request separate meters for panel, and the meter is just, one permit for panel replacement, because meter is being placed by the authority that sells you electricity. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is you gotta need a permit for the permit and another permit for that permit for the permit. So it's just a mess. I really hope that there will be some fix in these regulations. The less regulations we have, the easier it will be to build. Eventually, what end up happening personally, like on field, what I see is county sends an inspector, and if it's not a bad person, he's a normal guy, he will just tell you, hey, if you're owner builder, of course, just be responsible for whatever you're building, because you're going to eventually rent that place or live there. It's on you. But with institutional builders, it's a different situation. It's actually easier for them to build. And the problem is that institutional builders, like say Toll Brothers, they don't build in massive amounts. They do build here and there, but most of the builders, at least from the permits that I see in every city and the county, are average Joe guys like you and me. So, and we are the people who are going through all this struggle. I mean, there should be different type of permits for the owner builders and institutional builders. Institutional builders, I mean, they're required to go by certain requirements. But owner builders, I mean, you gotta have like 4 or 5 plumbing permit, mechanical permit, for frames and everything, and electricity. That's it. And then there should be one inspection for each of them. Not like if you would go to any city county website, they will have about 100 inspections in each of these points that I mentioned, which is useless. It doesn't make any sense, and obviously it's going to be harder to build for anyone with this type of inspections and permit requirements. Now, that's one of the biggest reasons why I think we have a lack of housing in the United States. The other problem is that the government is not really interested in cutting those permits, and also they are super expensive too. You just submit the plans. Random city in California, in order to go through them, they will require you somewhere between $3,000 to $10,000, which is crazy. I mean, who makes it? Like, you have one architect. I can find any architect any time of the day who will review any plan for $1,000. Like, come on, guys, don't be foolish. But anyways, recession rumors are spreading, but first of all, I don't think that it's possible. Now, will there be a recession? It's a very vague term. First of all, what is recession? Many people think that when the economy is like going downhill, that's a recession. I think there is a definition for that, like 3 quarters or 4 quarters of economy was downgrade. Could be considered a recession. But the thing is, the statistics is really easy to manipulate. You can tell that there is job growth when there is no actual job growth. Now, so far, what I see and what I hear from all my friends, and it doesn't matter if they're highly skilled or not, job market sucks. Now, official statistics is that we have a job growth. I mean, if you can consider a job growth something that like a guy like me, I have to hire because either I will hire or I will lose a business. That's not like a real job growth. This is something that people have to do because they just don't want to lose their business. But overall, I think economy obviously is not really good. Housing prices, at least in Orange County, what I see is that they didn't go up this year. Some people are on the market for months, 3 months. We just sold one property in Anaheim Hills, a fix and flip that we're working on. And normally it would take about 2 to 3 weeks to receive an offer. This time it took us about, I think it was like close to at least a month and a half. So if you have a good deal, eventually it will sell, but obviously it takes way longer than it used to. So what happens is that market doesn't go up, and I'm talking about the real estate market, which is very local, and currently I'm talking about Southern California, but it's not also like going down, way down. Many investors think that it's a good time to buy. Yes, it's a good time to buy because the prices are not going to go up. The moment the rates, Fed rates will go down, trust me, the real estate prices will go up. And it doesn't matter if the economy will be good or bad. Many people just don't buy because they cannot afford to pay the rates that we have right now. Now, another question is, why will 2008 repeat? Why real estate prices do not have the same effect as they did in 2008? Now, the main reason we had a market crash, real estate book crash in 2008 was that pretty much every other guy could get a loan. Now, it's still easy, in my opinion. I personally know people who like, qualification is that you have to make somewhere, and I'm not a lender yet, but qualification is that you have to make somewhere around 2.5 times or 3.5 times whatever your mortgage loan is. And I'm pretty sure that most of the people who get approved for the loans today, they don't make that money. Unless there is a family of 4 people and all 4 are working, then yes. But how many 4-member family that the grown-ups live in the same house? I mean, that's pretty much, whenever people come over age, like 21 and older, they tend to move pretty much out. Thank you for watching, and I would like to mention that this video is sponsored by my company. We help landlords to maximize their rental income. Normally, we take the property, say it's been rented for $3,000. We'll help landlord to make about $5,000 and charge about 10% from the profits. This is what we do. If you guys interested, if you're a landlord and looking for that company that would help you with getting more rent, just letting you guys know, I'm also a realtor in California. Any part of California you're looking for real estate, property for yourself, live with a family, or for investment, I'm your guy. Feel free to hit me up in the DM. That's the main reason that back in 2008 everybody could qualify. That was the main reason of the crash. Nowadays it's still easy, but not everybody. Literally, like, you come from the street to the lender, he would not qualify you. So no, there's not going to be a crash like in 2008. Now, there's another thing, that even if the prices would go down, eventually there will be a time when they will go up, because it's just a historical. Every 10 years on average, home prices are doubling. And this is not like every corner of the United States. Obviously some places appreciate higher, some places appreciate lower, but in Southern California that's pretty much a rule of thumb. Most of the properties in the United States, and I believe it's 1/3, are paid off. The other 40% of the remaining 2/3 are having the mortgage rates below below 3%, which is pretty much free money. If you have that type of mortgage, if you rent a house wherever you are, you will cash flow on that house. Somewhere you will cash flow around $100. Somewhere you will cash flow. Now in Southern California, for instance, I got a house myself with a 2.8 rate, and if I will rent it out, it's going to be like $1,000 a month cash flow. Does it really make sense to sell it? I don't think so, no. That's a thing that most of those guys who have those type of loans or paid off properties, why would they sell? I mean, unless they have a crazy real estate taxes, there is no reason to sell those type of properties. Now, obviously, the mortgage rates are very high, but there is still demand in the market. I mean, people still buy and sell houses. Of course, it takes a little longer because most of the times, for instance, in our case, we sold to the institutional buyer. The lady who is purchasing that property is going to, she's in the hospice business, and she's going to turn that to the residential hospice business. But there are still many people who just, buy the properties. They need the place to live. People move, people die, people marry people. So this life is still happening. It's not going to stop because their rates are high. So number one reason, or number one thing that can cause the crash is oversupply, but it's not happening. So we don't have supply enough that would cause a crash. Other reason that I think the crash would not happen is that the rent prices are going up. It's literally 1/3 of what it was like 5 years ago. So normally what would happen is the real estate price would go up and then rent would catch up. Now rent is going pretty much high with the same tempo that the real estate prices are going up. So it's really tough to predict, but it's not easier or cheaper to rent right now. That's another reason why people look at the market always to buy. Now, I kind of understand why Jerome Powell, Fed, didn't lower the rates. Although the inflation went down, the prices are not going up like as they used to. I think the main driver of inflation in any country of the world is housing prices. And they kind of trying to manipulate the housing market to go down, but it's really hard, again, because we have not enough supply. I don't think that in near future, especially the summer, it's pretty much always a high season for buying and selling. Only way for housing prices to go down is that if the rate would not lower the rates, which they are supposed to lower them 2 times according to the last statement. That's what so far what I understood. If that would not happen, then maybe there will be some down going in the market, but it's almost impossible. It's going to happen. Now, so far, what I noticed is, and I've been in the housing market since pretty much 2017. I got my license after COVID, but prior to that, I used to, still was active. As a buyer myself. Since then, 2017, it's going to be almost 10 years. Every year, I hear that same story that the housing market is going to crash. This is the end of the world, and I understand why many YouTubers like to make videos about that because they're going to get more views. However, that's not the case for last 7 something years now, and I don't think that it's going to happen in the future, in the near future. As Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. So when no one is buying, it's the best time to buy. When no one is selling, it's best time to sell. Which brings me to the note that it's a great time to buy right now, because trust me, whatever you buy, it doesn't matter. It will go up in price. Recently, I met the guy. He's immigrant from Vietnam, and he owns about 10 properties. Most of them are paid off in Orange County. It was an average net worth of about, I want to say, $13 million. And this is not like something crazy. He used to be a factory worker. Now he does some body shop work. He's not a rich guy. And I asked him, like, well, how you got those properties? He can just retire, sell one of them, pay them all of them off, and then leave off those properties. But that will be a dumb thing to do. Always keep whatever you buy. Try to keep it, rent it out, and it will eventually pay for itself. You will gain lots of equity, and then what will end up happening is that it will go up in price. That's the best strategy you can do. Or as my favorite rapper Rick Ross says, one man's liability is another man's asset. Honestly, I think that the housing shortage is going to grow up. It's not going to come down anytime soon because the population just keeps growing. We have a limited land. There is not much places to build. Although there are lots of empty, places around the United States, but who would want to live in the desert, right? And I think that one of the things that Trump should do, but he would not do it because it will be very dangerous for him, is prevent companies like BlackRock from buying real estate, Wall Street. Those are the only guys who can screw up the housing market. Everything, like, there is no reason for housing crash, but those guys can cause that. If they will keep buying, and they do keep buying houses, through the companies like Invitation Homes, through the companies like Open Home, fix and flip companies, Invitation Homes, they just buy and rent those houses. And they don't care what the rate are, those are smart money guys. They have unlimited supply of money, pension funds and other type of investors who invest with them, but they are making the decision. Those guys are pulling the triggers. And if they buy, say, a house in the neighborhood for $800,000, next day someone sells the house, they are glad to pay for that house $1 million. Because the moment they pay $1 million for that house that is in the same neighborhood, the house that they bought for $800,000 will go up in price too. That's how real estate works. So this should be prevented. There should be some kind of cap on how much houses they can buy. Now, as far as I know, there are neighborhoods that wholly owned by those guys. Like, can you imagine the whole neighborhood is owned by a Wall Street company? and they're not going to sell it. Never, ever. Why would they sell it if you can just refinance and cash out? So that should be somehow controlled. But it's really hard to control those guys. They pretty much run America. In my opinion, to wrap up this video is, there won't be a crash, no, but there would be some kind of freeze. It actually did happen. Normally the housing prices will go up in price like 4%, 3% every year. This year, although the statistics said that there was a hike in price, I don't see it personally. Like even if some prices went up, probably like higher end luxury, most of the markets stayed the same. So this is a kind of exceptional year, but that's what it is, guys. If you like this video, do not forget to subscribe and comment what you think about the house crash. I will read comments and make sure to make my reactions on them. Have a good one. See you on the next one.
Mansions and condos, wow, afford it all with his know-how. K-Money breaking down the walls, luxury living for us all. From penthouses to cozy stalls, watch him rise, we hear the calls.